shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Welcome to Stanford University's 134th annual commencement. It is our tradition to begin commencement with the university's land acknowledgement. Please welcome Jasmine Wakela Kinney, class of 2025, who will offer it this morning.
Sguyanakoi, nek now Jasmine Wakela Kinney, nek Puligla, esi Heshkigla, esi Turtle Mountain Chippewa, Wachmoose, esi Earth Lugger, esi Pekta, Matewa Metchok, Waklau Meth Skuyan, Kuhalet Mani, esi Kemakanutma. Good morning. My name is Jasmine Wakela Kinney, and I am a proud Yurok tribal citizen and Turtle Mountain Chippewa. Yeah. I come from the villages of Wachpoose, Earth Lugger, and Pekta, located at the confluence of the Klamath and Trinity Rivers in Northern California. Yeah. Today I have the honor of delivering this year's land acknowledgement. Stanford sits on the ancestral land of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Ohlone people. Consistent with our values of community and inclusion, Stanford has a responsibility to acknowledge, honor, and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. Chatskuisa Pelitma, esi Chatskuisa Hey Wachapma. Everybody be good and take care of yourselves. Waklau.
Let us be together. Gathered together one last time, let us pause to mark this moment with gratitude and with hope. Gratitude for the deep and abiding connections we have fostered here, for those who accompanied, encouraged, and held us all along the way. Gratitude for the journey of learning and discovery, a journey that taught us to seek truth through knowledge, refusing easy answers to wrestle with life's complexities. And gratitude. Gratitude for all the ways in which we have grown, not only in our academic achievements, but in the quiet resilience forged through uncertainty, struggle, and doubt. A resilience born of tenacious optimism and undying hope. As the world groans beneath ever-pressing challenges, let this be a moment not just of celebration, but of deep resolve. To live with purpose, to act with integrity, to lead with humility. May we carry from this place not only knowledge, but wisdom, not only ambition, but compassion, not only credentials, but a calling. And so when this moment ends, let us step forth boldly, rooted in gratitude, radiant in hope, ready to become all we are meant to be for ourselves and for the world. Amen. You may be seated.
Members of the class of 2025, faculty and staff, current and former trustees, distinguished guests, family members, and friends, welcome. Welcome to Stanford's 134th commencement ceremony. Today, we are celebrating the largest graduating class in Stanford's history. (1,010) doctoral degrees, 2,655 master's degrees, and 2,140 bachelor's degrees. You came to Stanford from around the country and from all over the world to seek a transformative education. Today, you will leave as Stanford graduates, and we are here to celebrate this moment. Let's hear it for the class of 2025. Now I'd like to acknowledge a few others who are here today. The Stanford faculty, including those who have joined me today on the stage, have invested in our graduates through their teaching and mentoring. Our staff, who are all around the stadium, have supported you in the residences, libraries, and labs, and in student activities, programs, and teams. Let's hear it for the Stanford faculty and staff. There is one more group to thank, the families and friends who have devoted so much to get you to Stanford and to support your education. Graduates, could I ask you to rise and to turn and face your families and friends? And please join me in saying thank you. And let me add to all the Stanford fathers here today, happy Father's Day. And now Provost Martinez will present the University Awards.
It is now my privilege and pleasure to present the following prizes. The President's Award for the Advancement of the Common Good, the Walter J. Gores Award for Excellence in Teaching, the Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Awards for Distinctive Contributions to Undergraduate Education, and the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for Exceptional Service to Stanford University. Recommendations for these awards were considered by a committee of faculty, students, and staff. The President's Award for the Advancement of the Common Good honors alumni who exemplify the university's mission and values and who demonstrate a commitment to learning, social responsibility, and ethical and effective service. I would like to ask the award recipients to come forward at this time. The recipients of the 2025 President's Award for the Advancement of the Common Good are Gayatri Shrikant Datar and Pamela C. Rowland. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this significant recognition of your contributions to the greater good of society. Congratulations. The Gores Awards were established by a bequest from Walter J. Gores, a Stanford alumnus of the class of 1917, and recognize excellent teaching at the undergraduate and graduate level. I would like to ask the recipients to come forward now, and I ask that you hold your applause until I have announced all of this year's award winners. The recipients of the 2025 Walter J. Gores Awards for Excellence in Teaching are Aya Mualim, PhD candidate in electrical engineering and Knight Hennessy Scholar; Sybil Diver, lecturer in the Earth Systems program; Laura Good, Associate Director for Student Programs in the Stanford Public Humanities and lecturer in the English Department and the Feminist, Gender, and Sexuality Studies program; and Jonathan Gannap, Associate Professor of History and of Law in the School of Humanities and Sciences and Professor of Law in the School of Law; and Kenneth Schultz, the William Bennett Monroe Professor of Political Science in the School of Humanities and Sciences. On behalf of the university, I congratulate each of you for this recognition of your excellence in teaching. I would like to ask the Dinkelspiel Award winners to come forward at this time. Lloyd Dinkelspiel's service to Stanford included the presidency of the Board of Trustees in the 1950s and was characterized by an enduring concern for the quality of undergraduate education. The recipients of the 2025 Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Award for distinctive contributions to undergraduate education are Diego Villegas Kagurabadza, BA candidate in American Studies and Political Science and ASSU president; Peyton Klein, BA candidate in Human Biology; and Divya Ganesan, BA candidate in Political Science, MS candidate in Computer Science and ASSU vice president; and Kristen M. Azevedo, Assistant Dean and Assistant Athletic Director, Student Athlete Success and Wellbeing. Also receiving this award is Jennifer Randall Crosby, Psych 1 Program Director in the Department of Psychology, who could not be with us today. On behalf of the university, I congratulate all of you for this significant recognition of your contributions to undergraduate education. Our next award is the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for Exceptional Service to Stanford University. I would like to ask the Cuthbertson Award winner to come forward at this time. The award was established in 1981 to honor the late Kenneth Cuthbertson, who steered Stanford's long-range financial planning and development programs. The sole criteria of this award is the quality of the contribution that the recipient has made to Stanford. The recipient of the 2025 Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for Exceptional Contributions to Stanford University is Yvonne Bonnie Maldonado, Senior Associate Dean for Faculty Development and Engagement in the School of Medicine, Taub Professor of Global Health and Infectious Diseases, Professor of Pediatrics and Epidemiology and Population Health. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this distinguished recognition of your exceptional service to Stanford University. Congratulations to all of the award winners.
Thank you, Provost Martinez. I am delighted to have my first opportunity as president to address a graduating class. Graduation ceremonies have important elements of tradition. Even at Stanford, where we take pride in fresh thinking, we have our academic regalia, the wacky walk, and the MBA students making noise disproportionate to their numbers. Well done, MBA students. Okay, many of you who are graduating arrived at Stanford when we were reopening the campus after the pandemic. Traditions had been forgotten. The class of 2025 had to reinvent Stanford customs. Sunday night movies at Flicks, the On-Call Cafe and Old Union. And the class had to renew the spirit of irreverence, which, combined with academic excellence, is essential to Stanford. The class of 2025 even arrived at a moment when some doubted if Stanford was fun. Congratulations, class of 2025. I can confidently say that you will be remembered as the class that brought back fun. Looking out at you, I am reminded of my own graduation from Stanford in June of 1994. I was out very late the night before. In a rush to make it to the ceremony, I put on my graduation robe while wearing a pair of shorts and Teva sandals. During the ceremony, I was quite pleased with that decision because it was incredibly hot. But later, I somewhat regretted it because after 31 years, it is still the only thing that my mother remembers about my Stanford graduation. In her honor, I decided to wear my Tevas again. Now you are graduating. You are graduating at a time when people are questioning the value of universities and what happens here on campus. It is essential for those of us who will remain at Stanford and for you who are leaving to answer those questions. Universities exist for the purpose of discovery and learning. The knowledge that is created here and on other campuses illuminates our understanding of humanity, the physical world, and what it is possible to create. During your time at Stanford, you've been part of a campus that has been the birthplace of novel insights about American history and comparative literature, of pioneering studies of social networks and financial markets, and visionary scientific advances, such as the recombinant DNA techniques that are now the foundation of biotechnology, the TCP/IP protocol on which the entire internet operates, and the tools of optogenetics that have revolutionized neuroscience. The pursuit of new ideas at a university is different than in a company or a government agency. University research is driven by curiosity, and we publish it openly, so there can be many paths to application. Sometimes it happens quickly. When Larry Page and Sergey Brin discovered the PageRank algorithm as graduate students, they started Google. Sometimes it happens slowly. When Stanford faculty helped develop neural networks, their ideas waited 30 years for data and computation to turn them into generative artificial intelligence. Profound ideas in the humanities and the social sciences are different still. Occasionally, they jump immediately into public discourse. More often, they filter out gradually. Only in the fullness of time do we appreciate how fundamentally they have shaped our thinking. Each of you has contributed to this enterprise of discovery. Whether you wrote an honors thesis, or a doctoral dissertation, or worked as a research assistant, or came to classes and seminars asking challenging questions. The conditions that enable the search for knowledge are the freedom to explore, the willingness to debate, and the generosity to share ideas. Today, university campuses are criticized for being narrow and doctrinaire. The critics are not all wrong. However, when a university is at its best, when Stanford is at its best, the campus is an unparalleled place for freedom, truth, and enlightenment. A great university is a place to encounter different people and different ideas and to ask hard questions without assuming to know the answers. Each of you has contributed to creating this at Stanford. You debated what it means to be a citizen in a democracy, you re-energized the Stanford Political Union, and you brought perspectives from more than 110 countries. So what is the value of universities? I have pointed to the knowledge we create, the innovation that follows, and the inquiry and learning on our campuses. I have left the most important part for last, because in fact, you are the answer to that question. Our greatest contribution is what we are here to celebrate, the qualities and potential of the people who leave here. Today, you will join more than 240,000 Stanford alumni whose contribution to this country and the world is extraordinary. You will join them in being scholars, innovators, and public servants, in leading organizations and in contributing to local communities, in creating families, in solving problems, and in seeking to elevate and uplift others. We send you out with high expectations and with high hopes for the qualities you will carry forth from Stanford. Let me name three. To be open-minded. Stanford is a place to be curious and ask questions. Keep that spirit of openness and curiosity. To explore fearlessly. Stanford is a place to pursue knowledge and innovation and to be ambitious in your aspirations. Keep that sense of possibility. To be optimistic. Not in a naive way, but a realistic one, in the way that fuels persistence and will allow you to tackle the hardest challenges. I'm very fond of Wallace Stegner, who founded Stanford's creative writing program. Stegner was the great chronicler of the American West, and Stanford embodies its best characteristics. Stegner wrote, in words that I think apply to Stanford, "One cannot be pessimistic about the West. It is the native home of hope." I encourage you to take the open-minded, exploratory, optimistic spirit of Stanford with you into the world and share it with the people around you. Class of 2025, we send you off with confidence in what you've learned at Stanford and what you will contribute to the world. Know that whatever you encounter, you have Stanford's tailwind of freedom behind you. Congratulations. And that brings me to another Stanford graduate, today's commencement speaker. Katie Ledecky is the most decorated American female Olympian. She holds 21 world championship titles. She has competed in 4 Olympics, beginning in 2012 in London when she was 15 years old. She has won 9 gold medals, more than any female Olympian. Katie has broken 17 world and national records. Last month, she set a new world record in the 800-meter freestyle. And just as importantly, Katie is a Stanford Cardinal. She graduated in 2020 with a major in psychology and a minor in political science. Go psychology majors. As a Stanford swimmer, Katie and her teammates won back-to-back NCAA team championships. Katie herself set 11 US records, won 8 NCAA titles, and broke 15 NCAA records. Exemplifying Stanford's tradition of academic and athletic excellence, that is, fielding teams of nerds who win. Katie was named the Division I Academic All-American of the Year across all NCAA sports. Last year, Katie published her New York Times best-selling memoir, Just Add Water, and was honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. When I wrote to Katie to invite her to speak at commencement, she wrote back within minutes with 4 emojis. 100, 100, fire, fire. I think that's how all of us feel about having Katie as a Stanford alumna. Please join me in welcoming Katie Ledecky.
Thank you, President Levin, for that very kind introduction, and congratulations, class of 2025. Faculty members, Provost Martinez, Board of Trustees, and all of you, thank you for the very warm welcome back to campus. I understand from the senior class presidents that I was selected to speak today through some kind of a class survey, and I am so honored to be given this opportunity. But I have to say, I hope there was no padding of the survey results by the men's and women's swim teams. I saw many of you out there in your wacky walk swimsuits, and I appreciate being made to feel at home. Thank you to my family for being here, and a huge shout out to my former Stanford swim coaches, Greg Meehan and Tracy Slusser. I've enjoyed spending time the last few days around campus, swimming, seeing old friends, and meeting many of you at dinner on the quad and around campus. I love Stanford so much. As President Levin said earlier, it's Father's Day, and I too would like to wish all of the fathers here, including my own, a very happy Father's Day. You know, I'm so fortunate to have a father who was willing to wake up at 4 a.m. to drive me to swim practices when I was younger. When I was a little kid, about yay high, my dad, knowing that I loved to swim and also that I loved math, taught me that swim races could be decided by just fractions of a second. He said that some races might be decided by just 1/100th of a second. And to demonstrate what a small period of time that was, he gave me this stopwatch and told me to try to start and stop the watch as fast as I could, and then to look to see how much time was measured on the stopwatch. I'm going to do it here now. 0.16. I could never do it in faster than 1/10 of a second, which revealed to me just how short 1/100th of a second really is. In some ways, that exercise also taught me how fast time flies by. I know that some of you sitting out there, though you may have had some long days completing assignments, probably feel that your time here at Stanford has flown by. Others of you, perhaps not. But here you are at your graduation. And if you spent 4 academic years on campus here at Stanford, say about 300 days each year, you have been here for approximately 104 million seconds of your life. 104 million seconds. And I gotta tell you, once you graduate, you'll spend nearly as many seconds of your life explaining to people why Stanford's mascot is a dancing tree. Okay, let me say something right off the bat. I am at most 7 years older than many of you undergrads here today. I can tell you everything you need to know about freestyle and flip turns. I cannot tell you everything you need to know about life. I can't even tell you what it's like to turn 30. But one thing I do feel like I have expertise in is distance. As a distance swimmer, I have logged a lot of miles in the water. I've spent countless hours practicing and staring at that black line on the bottom of the pool, learning what it means to keep going when no one is watching. So Stanford, class of 2025, allow me to offer some insights as to how to go the distance in whatever field and whatever life you may choose. In my experience, there are 3 elements to going the distance: pacing, process, and time. So let's talk about pacing first. I was 15 years old when I won my first Olympic gold medal. Looking back now, it's crazy to me too. So let me set the scene for you for the race. I had just finished my freshman year of high school. I was the youngest member in the entire US Olympic athlete delegation, and it was my very first time swimming in a meet outside of the United States. Nobody knows who I am. The Olympics are in London, and the defending Olympic champion and favorite in my race is British. Her name is Becky Adlington, a really gracious champion, and so I know the crowd will be chanting, "Becky, Becky." And I have programmed myself to think they are shouting, "Ledecky, Ledecky." Prince William and Princess Kate are there, and it is so loud. It gets quiet for swimmers, take your mark. Then the beep goes off, I dive in, and I'm instantly in the lead. My coach at the time, Yuri Sugiyama, and another coach, the late, great John Urbanchek, had advised me to be cautious not to go out too fast, given the excitement I would feel swimming in a lane next to the reigning Olympic champion. Well, I didn't quite listen to that advice. I took the lead from the start, and I kept expanding on it. About midway through the race, I remember thinking, where is everybody? There's a brief second where I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, like I've gone out too fast. Then I tell myself, just keep going. And I did. I won by over 4 seconds. Yeah. Thank you. So after my win, Coach Urbanchek comes up to me with this befuddled look on his face and says, "You didn't follow the plan." Then he gives me a big hug and says, "But that's okay." Later that night in the Olympic Village, I watched the replay of the race. For most of the race, the NBC announcers seemed like they were trying to will me into slowing down. 35 seconds into the race, I'm leading, and they say, "She needs to take her foot off the pedal here." 20 seconds later, still in the lead. "She swam too fast. She needs to settle back and get into a rhythm." Another 2 minutes later, they question my strategy. "She is so far out there now, unless she has a lot of confidence in her stroke and her pace, it may be a little quick, because these wily veterans know exactly what they're doing." Finally, 3/4 of the way through the race, the tone of the announcers changes. Now they're celebrating as I extend my lead and eventually win. No second guessing, no telling me to take my foot off the pedal. Okay, the point of all of this is not to criticize the announcers. They were just doing their jobs. But can you imagine what it would have been like for me if I were hearing that commentary the whole time I was swimming? I'd be thinking, maybe they're right. I should probably slow down. Point is, you will probably have people tell you to pace yourself. Try not to rush. You're still young. And that might be the right advice. But I also want you to consider where being young and unknown could be an advantage. Go fast when you need to go fast. Yeah. It's easy to hear the voices telling you to pace yourself and take your foot off the pedal. But I've found that once you start fast, you can go further than you think you can. So I say to you today, listen to your coaches, listen to your family members, listen to your mentors and bosses, but also listen to yourself. Don't be afraid to take the lead. Sometimes you just have to go for it and find out what you're capable of. Of course, knowing when to go full speed is only part of the equation. Going the distance is also about enjoying the day-to-day process. I'm often asked for my secret, as if there's some secret code to Olympic gold. And today, Stanford, I'm going to share my secret. Ready? It involves food. Yeah, everyone loves food, especially at Stanford. As I was making my way through the sport of swimming, the one question other parents always asked my mother was, "What do you feed Katie? What are you feeding that kid?" My mother, in her special mom sort of way, would often say, "Oh, you know, whatever's on sale that week, that's what we feed her. If strawberries are on sale, then strawberries." Well, when I was about 10 years old, my mother read somewhere that low-fat chocolate yogurt was a good breakfast meal for swimmers. But for whatever reason, she couldn't find low-fat chocolate yogurt at the store. And so for about a year, she somehow substituted chocolate ice cream for the low-fat yogurt. And I think that explains why I was so eager to wake up early in the morning for practice. You know, what's funny is everyone loves that ice cream story, but when I tell them that that's the secret, they look kind of disappointed. Like, come on, Katie, what's the real secret? Okay, obviously ice cream isn't the secret. Truth is, there really isn't a secret. Perhaps the closest I can come is this. I set goals, but those goals aren't about winning. Winning is inherently about comparison. Comparison to others, and then even if you keep winning, you eventually get compared to yourself, a younger, more dominant version of yourself. That's why my goals are always about my own performance, and my goals are always times. Last month, I hit a time I hadn't hit in 9 years. I was elated. Thanks. I talked about that time like it was an old friend. 3:56, great to see you again. Afterwards, I was being interviewed, and I could tell the reporter wanted me to say I'd been chasing my own ghost from 2016. Truth is, that's not what I do. I chase goal times, not my past self. I stay focused on my pacing, my technique, and the effort it will take to reach those goals. The real race is always the same. It's me against my goals. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that hitting those goals may result in winning, and I don't want to downplay the feeling of winning gold. Being on that medal stand is a feeling I wish everyone could experience. But when I look back at those races, what gives me the most joy is the goal being reached. This is why I tell you, you don't have to win the race. You just need to win your race. And winning your race means falling in love with the process. Fall in love with the process, not the podium. I've been in an Olympic final race 15 times, which is 170 laps, or around 5.5 miles. But I estimate I've swum around 26,000 miles in my life. And actually, I'll do another few later today. All told, that's 26,000 miles to set up about 5.5 miles of Olympic finals. Swimmers talk about the fact that every time you swim in a practice, you are putting miles into the bank to call upon in competition. And I was thinking about how many pages you seniors have read over 4 years at Stanford. I asked some of this year's class presidents to run some calculations for me. And in true Stanford fashion, they wanted to be precise, separating out different types of reading, like reading for class, reading for leisure, reading op-eds. The consensus is you probably had something like 15,000 pages of assigned reading to reach graduation, and maybe a little more if you were an English major. 15,000 pages. You won't remember every page, but every page mattered. Every lap, every page, every late night study session, every line of code, every conversation with professors and peers, every latte at Coupa, they've all been part of your process. As you move forward, trust your process. Fall in love with your process. Build a community that supports that process. And trust that all those small, seemingly insignificant moments have added up to something special. They've made you into the person you are today. There's one more element we need to discuss, and that's time. This probably sounds like I'm going to reference the stopwatch again, but I actually want to talk to you about how you spend your time and who you spend it with. One of the questions I'm often asked is, what do you think about when you're swimming? While I'm a little suspicious, this is just another way of saying you must get kind of bored during those long races. I also get it. Distance swimmers have a lot of time to think. When your races are 15 minutes long, you can't spend the whole time thinking, must go faster. So what do I think about? I always count the laps. Sometimes I have a song stuck in my head. But my favorite races are the ones where I think of people. I think about training partners. I think about my grandpa Jerry immigrating from Czechoslovakia to study at an American university. I think about my grandpa Hagen serving as a Navy surgeon in World War II. In the Tokyo Olympics, I had 2 medal races about 70 minutes apart. The first was the 200-meter free. I'm still not quite sure what happened, but I just felt off. It was my 36th international race and the first time I didn't medal. And I had under an hour to get ready for my next race, the 1,500-meter freestyle. I knew I'd have to dig deep and fight. I remember I was in the warm-down pool, my brain was clouded with doubt, and I kept telling myself to relax. I had to find a way to shake things off and focus. That's when I started to think about my grandparents. I envisioned my grandmothers watching me on TV back home. I pictured them cheering for me. And if I were going to dwell on anything in those difficult moments, it was going to be on the toughness and warmth of my grandmothers. For nearly every stroke of that 30-lap race, I just repeated their names. Grandma Hagen, Grandma Berta, Grandma Hagen, Grandma Berta. And it worked. I swam with a sense of strength and freedom. I felt like my grandparents lifted me up to gold that day. My Grandma Hagen is now 7 months shy of turning 100 years old. We don't know exactly how long our distance in life will be. But whatever it is, we need to spend that time in a meaningful way. Sometimes that means trying to get from point A to point B as fast as we can. Most times, that means dealing with uncertainty. It means spending time on hard problems, problems that you sometimes can't solve on your own. As you leave Stanford, so many of you are going places where you won't have a roadmap. The truly important work will sometimes feel like you're swimming alone. Yet I've found those are the moments where I most needed my people, my family, my teammates, my coaches. They're the voices that carry you through the tough times. Here are my questions for you. Who are those people who are in your corner? When you and your friends are spread out across the country, who will you feel cheering for you? When you have to dig deep and find a way to swim your best race, who will be on your mind? Here's something that might surprise you. Your Stanford friends aren't limited to who your Stanford friends are today. You have no idea how many alumni you will wind up friends with. I have Stanford friends from every generation. Because even if you don't know them now, you know Stanford, and they know Stanford. They know what it's like to have a picnic at the Oval. They know what it's like to go fountain hopping. They know what it's like to return from class and see one of your professors interviewed on national news. And yes, they know about CS 106A. Point being, you can't go the distance alone. Continue to surround yourself with people who will challenge you, support you, and make you laugh. Make sure you spend time with the people who matter to you. Pacing, process, and time. Like many of you, I'm still figuring out what it means to go the distance in life. How do you pace your life? What does your day-to-day process look like? How do you prioritize your time? We're all coming from a place here at Stanford that has taught us to ask tough questions like these. We might not have all of the answers, but today we can take joy in the pursuit. So as you take the starting block and you get ready to dive in to go the distance, I want you to remember this. Stanford was the best choice on your first day. It's the best choice on your last day. I've loved everything about being a Stanford grad, and I think you will too. And the best is yet to come. So graduates, take your mark and go out there and make your mark. Congratulations, class of 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for those remarks and for being here with our graduates today. It's great to have you back on the farm. Now, will the provost please present the candidates for degrees?
Mr. President, first, I have the honor to recognize all those who have completed the requirements for master's and doctoral degrees. They will be presented to you by the deans of their schools.
Will the candidates from the School of Engineering please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Whittam. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Engineering please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Law please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Doctor of Jurisprudence, Master of Laws, Master of Legal Studies, Master of the Science of Law, and Doctor of the Science of Law.
Thank you, Dean Triantis, and may I welcome you to your first commencement as Dean of the School of Law. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates of the School of Law please be seated?
Will the candidates from the Graduate School of Education please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Masters of Arts, Masters of Science, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Education please be seated?
Will the candidates of the School of Humanities and Sciences please stand if you're able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Masters of Arts, Master of Fine Arts, Masters of Liberal Arts, Master of Public Policy, Master of Science, Doctor of Musical Arts, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Mudgett. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates of the School of Humanities and Sciences please be seated?
Will the candidates from the Stanford Doerr School of Sustainability please stand if you're able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, and the Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Majumdar. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the Stanford Doerr School of Sustainability please be seated?
Will the candidates from the Graduate School of Business please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts in Business Research, Master of Science in Management, Master of Business Administration, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean DeMarzo, and thank you for your service this year as Dean of the Graduate School of Business. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of the university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Business please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Medicine please stand if you're able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies, Master of Science, Doctor of Philosophy, and Doctor of Medicine.
Thank you, Dean Minor. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Medicine please be seated?
Well, President Levin, have we forgotten anyone?
I don't think so, actually.
I don't hear anyone out there.
The undergraduates.
Of course. Now, Mr. President, I have the honor to recognize all those who have completed the requirements for undergraduate degrees. Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts and Sciences please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Science degrees and the Bachelor of Arts and Science degree.
By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees, I am delighted to confer publicly upon each of you the bachelor degree and to admit you to its rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates please be seated?
Thank you, Provost Martinez. Stanford class of 2025, today you leave the family of Stanford students, but you will always have a home here at Stanford. I wish you happiness, meaning, and adventure. Congratulations. Now please rise if you are able for the Stanford hymn and the benediction.
plunging deep and paling. Here we raise our voices, hailing thee, our alma mater. From the foothills to the bay, it shall ring as we sing, it shall ring and float away. Hail Stanford, hail! Hail Stanford, hail!
Let us be together. In the days and weeks to come, may we hold fast to the curiosity and love of discovery honed here. May our search for knowledge cultivate new communities marked by freedom, truth, and enlightenment. And as we go, may we learn to trust our own pace, going fast when we need to go fast, loving the process as we chase our goals, and seeking never to win the race, but our race. And above all, may we cherish the ones who matter most, remembering that none of us go this distance alone. So friends, let us go forth this day, taking life's joy with us, moving into the world evermore with that open-minded, exploratory, optimistic spirit of Stanford, knowing that you always have a home here, today and evermore. May it be so. Amen.
Thank you.